All right, so we are in a different room. We're not in my car. This is ZYUH talking philosophy today. We're going to continue the series that I abandoned, I want to say, a few months ago. If I'm looking at my notes here, the last video I put up, hopefully it's still recording. I can't see myself right now, but hopefully it's still recording. The last video I put up was, let's see, about 3 months ago. So hopefully you caught that. Hopefully we're still going. And I just want to say thank you to the people who are still listening in. If you're new to this channel, this is where we talk about philosophy. I take, the camera's up there, but I'm looking at myself here. I guess I should be looking up there while I speak. But it just feels kind of awkward. We are talking philosophy. This is where I take philosophies from. Right now, I think we're kind of in the study of Marcus Aurelius. Unless we abandoned him altogether, I just want to see which one are we even speaking about today. These studies are coming from a neighboring YouTube channel, is how I like to say it. It is Philosophies for Life, is what it is. Philosophies for Life, and what I'm doing essentially is they're about 10-minute videos. What they do, and I'll put the link in there in the description. What they do is they put out these 10-minute videos of Philosophies for Life, and essentially what they do, they help the individual get out of bed in the morning. They help the individual, go after life at a different approaches to your average Joe. Meaning, they have these mantras or this way of approaching life, in a sense, that enables the individual to not fear walking into an interview, not fear walking into a new situation in life, not fear going to school, not fear making friends, not having that sense of, I guess, distraught or inadequacy, or this feeling of, gosh, I'm just not good enough, or what's wrong with me. At the root of it all, you guys, we're human beings, and with that being said, we're gonna fall short at times. We're gonna mess up, we're gonna fail, we're gonna experience life in a way where these certain areas in life are life lessons, and it's inevitable. It's inevitable because, again, we're human. At our core, we want to excel, but a lot of us, me included, are afraid of trying new things, or putting ourselves in situations where we don't feel like we necessarily belong, or we don't feel like we're even doing a good job. So, again, I'm not necessarily stealing these philosophies. These philosophies are well known to man, and basically I'm just spewing them out in a more lengthy video as opposed to putting out a 10-minute video. All props to Philosophies for Life and their YouTube channel. I love them. That's essentially why I decided to create this type of podcast or this playlist on my YouTube channel. Being a musician, being an artist, I do have certain outlets that I like to dive myself into. Of course, being philosophy, certain artistries, again, certain approaches to life, religion, I even at times, politics, and just really getting into what I constantly think about is God, my love for music, and my questioning for life, essentially. You throw in art in there too, right? My way of expressing myself. So again, there's a lot of things that I've been going through, as we all are. We're all going through a lot of things, but I've been in school, the past 3 months. We are in June now, so 6 months. So about like the last 5 months, I've been in school. So we're on summer break, so hopefully I can put out more videos um, in this playlist. And I've met people, on my job, out in the streets, and I tell them about my YouTube channel, and I'm happy to hear that they're actually invested in it. I'm happy to hear that they're actually, listening in on these videos. That makes me feel like I'm doing, gosh, if I can't read, or if I can't reach, tens or 15s or 20s, amount of people, at least just one, right? At least just one person is out there, finding interest in this, or they're at least, they're not on their phone, right? So what I'm saying is that they're not wasting away their lives. They're actually thinking about, because we can drop dead again. This is what I like to say is that, I mean, I don't like to say it, but it's true. We can drop dead in a week, in 2 weeks, and it's like all for naught. It's like, what did you, and you don't want to go too much, right? You want to put these practices, these philosophies, these approaches to life to actual practice. You don't want to be just a nose in book kind of guy. You can know a lot of things. You can be really, really smart, but wisdom comes from experience, from actually experiencing things and failing and figuring it out and getting yourself back up and trying it again. And that way you have a story to tell people. It's all good and dandy to read, hundreds and hundreds of books, but if you're not putting any of it to practice, then you're not really growing as an individual. So without me speaking too much about, how we can approach life differently, this episode, because we went through, I did two episodes. If I'm looking at my notes here, we did 2 episodes of part. Okay, so we did. What am I trying to say? We did 1 episode, is what I'm trying to say. We did 1 episode, and in that episode we did the 10 important insights for happiness, parts 1 through 10. That's what I'm trying to say. I did 1 episode where I did part 1, and then I did part 2, stop seeking the praise of other people, and then I finished it off with a third video, finishing off parts 3 to 10. So episode 1 is 3 videos. One video being about an hour, the other 2 videos being about 40 minutes. Episode 2 is just an audio recording of me explaining how valuable time is, and really it comes down to, are you using your time wisely? Are you really trying to use time not necessarily to your advantage, but because you can overuse the usage of time, meaning you could be overworking, you could be prioritizing certain things and mismanaging your time and not spending enough time with your children or with your spouses or with your family, coworkers and friends and things like that. So there's a fine line, there's a balance in understanding that time is given to us, obviously, when we're born, but time can be taken away from us when we mismanage it, when we take advantage of it, when we don't use it in, what am I trying to say, in a way where it benefits not only yourself, but quite possibly the people around you, right? Because everything that you do affects the people around you. So you really want to be using your time wisely and not just throwing it out the window and being careless with time as well. It's okay to read a book, right, if you like reading. It's okay to play a video game if you like playing video games. It's okay to go play some sports if you like going out there and being athletic. But are you overextending that to the point where you're not devoting certain aspects of your life and you're putting maybe your passion or your selfish needs in front of the needs of others, right? Because, and again, I don't want to get into too much because I talk about it in episode 2, but time is given to you, but it can also be taken away from you when you die, right? So with time, a lot of people say that you can't measure time, right? And that there's no future or there's no past. That it's just now, right? So we can just throw the clock out the window, right? Essentially, what I'm saying is that the clock could be a distraction, but in our society, we use the clock, right? We use time as a way to maneuver in life, right? The way that we move through life. Well, I got to go to work at this time. I have class at this time. I have a meeting at this time. So that's why time in general can be, to the one who doesn't want to follow time, right? The clock can be a huge distraction. It could get in the way of, but that's what I'm saying too. People can become too lazy. People can become very careless with their time, very careless with their lifestyle. Then they would have too much freedom. And then with too much freedom, you're inviting chaos into your world, as Peterson would say, right? If you have too much freedom on your hands, then there's a higher chance of you just not doing anything of value with your time, or with your time here, right? If we're talking about just being here on planet Earth, right? Our human existence, our physical form. So that's where it gets kind of tricky, with reincarnation possibly, or with the reflection after death. Is what did you do while you were here on Earth? Was it of good nature? Did you devote that time to not only help others but to help yourself, right? Did you go out of your way to extend that arm and be of a good neighbor, right? Because there's this way of approaching life. There's this way of looking at life where God says, be good to your neighbor as you would be good to anybody else, right? Love your neighbor as you would love yourself. And a lot of people have tried to, decipher this meaning of what he's trying to say. Love your neighbor like I would love myself. Okay, sure. Well, this is how I would love myself, so I have to treat them the same way. That's one way of looking at it. A lot of people, not a lot of, I guess I could be a lot of people, but there are other people that like to look at it this way. And the Beatles have said it, right? You are me as I am him, and we are all together, or something along those lines, where we're all one entity, right? And so, if I am me and my neighbor is him, and my neighbor is me, and I am my neighbor, right? If we're all together, if we're all one, then of course I would treat my neighbor as I would treat myself, meaning we are the same being, so why would I mistreat my neighbor? But a lot of us mistreat our own selves, right? Our body is a temple, right? And if we're looking at it as in a more, Christian-like or, religious type of way, that our body is a temple, and so when we mistreat our temple, when we mistreat our body, we might quite possibly be mistreating other people, right? So we're in this position where if my neighbor is me, right? If we're looking at it that way, if my coworker is me, if my fellow man is me, and if I mistreat myself, would I be okay mistreating other people? And would I feel guilty over that? Well, if you feel guilty after committing sin, which if you're human, you do, and if you don't, then you've got a lot of thinking to do. If you don't feel guilty after sinning, if you don't feel guilty mistreating people, then you really have to look inside and see how are you as a human being? Do you think that's really going to get you further? Then you throw in karma, right? You throw in this, the cancer aspect where if you do something to someone and that's in a bad nature, it's going to come back. And sometimes people say even worse. So when you step out the door, are you really just thinking about yourself and your own needs? And are you using time to just, right? Or are you stepping out the door and saying, you know what can I do to help others? It cares about me. You're not saying, oh, I hate myself. I don't want to do anything for myself. I don't want to do anything for myself. You're not saying that. What you're saying is, if I see an opportunity and it just so happens that I'm there, and if I don't really look at time as 12 hours in the day or 24 hours in the day, then don't I have the time to be of service? Shouldn't the things outside of what's happening now priority? Helping, the old lady across the street, giving some money or bread to a homeless person, having a conversation with anybody. Nowadays, it's more important than day and age, I believe, to really look for that opportunity to just slow it down and have that conversation. Because you really don't know what people are going through, and especially now more than ever, people are in a state of loneliness or a state of desperation for some type of social interaction. I, for one, am in that category. I don't, I don't pride myself of somebody, you know, hundreds and hundreds of friends, or I'm calling up so and so to hang out, or, I'm calling so and so to go have a bite to eat. I don't do that. That's not in my realm of reality. Like how I like to say is that in my circle of friends or in my circle of my world that I'm living in, what and my work and my family that I live with, and some people that I'm getting to know, right? A few acquaintances that are turning into friends. And as we get older, I'll say this: if you have a lot of friends, and if you have a lot of friends, that's great, that's awesome. But where are you amongst the hundreds of people that you hang out with? Have you truly found yourself? Are you an individual? Are you able to go, let's say, to the movies by yourself, right? An example is going to the restaurant. A lot of people, have that fear of like, well, what are people going to think of me if I'm going somewhere by myself? They're going to look at me, oh my gosh, what a loser, right? If that's your mentality at 35, at 25 or so, you need to like put yourself in gear in a sense and tell yourself that, hey, that's perfectly fine. That's normal. Don't worry about what other people are going to think about you. And for people like me who have discovered, just the sense of being an individual in a sense, or lone wolf, like I like to say, I'm a lone wolf as opposed to somebody who's just in a flock of sheep. I go everywhere by myself because that's just my personality and I just like to be alone. But sometimes it gets to the point where I am, again, longing for that conversation. I'm longing for that social interaction. I'm longing for that, relationship. So, and here I am going off, right? But in episode 2, we're talking about time. We're talking about how time, again, is given to us when we're born, but can be taken away from us when we mismanage it. When we say, oh, where did the time go? And sometimes we put ourselves in this position where you're reading a book or you're playing a video game or you've gone through your third movie in a row, and that's 6 hours, right? If we're thinking, the movie's 2 hours, 2 hours, and 2 hours, or you're watching Netflix or you're binge watching TV or you're listening to an audiobook, or it's like you sit down and you're listening or you're watching TV. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. All of a sudden it's 6 in the evening and people are coming home from work, and it was your day off, and maybe you could have done something around the house or something. And then all of a sudden an argument arises, right? Well, what did you do all day? I was watching TV. Well, why were you watching TV? Couldn't you go outside and clean the gutter? Couldn't you go outside and mow the lawn? What's my day off? This is what I want to do. You're like 3 beers in, right? But what I'm saying is that time can really put us in a position where we go, gosh, was that really me? Did I really spend that much time doing that? And then you feel guilty, right? Just because you dove into something for a little too long, a little too much of your time, right? If we're looking at time, if time is in a societal norms of like 1 to 6 o'clock. But if you're a nomad or whatever, if you're out there in the wilderness and you don't really, you're living off grid and time isn't really, you're just going based off like, okay, well the sun is up, I'm getting to work. Well, the sun's down, I'm gonna start eating, read a book, and hit the hay. And what I'm noticing is that a lot of people are choosing that lifestyle. They're choosing just to say, you know what, not the heck with society or anything, but this type of living off grid, is much more simpler than devoting myself to get up every morning and taking that commute and going to work and doing something to get paid little, to not be able to afford groceries, to not be able to afford gas. I only have 2 days out of the week off, if that, because I do school events or have kids, practices or recitals or things like that on the weekends. And the evenings are taken up with PTA meetings and things like that, and overwork and overtime and things like that. And so really, where is my time? When is it about me? When do I get to be selfish? Is it just those 2 hours after work, from 5 to 7 when I'm at the bar, and the wife's calling me to come home at 8 o'clock because she doesn't want me to stay out till midnight? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, when the people, start becoming a little bit more demonic. Like, I would like to say anybody after midnight hanging out just turns into somebody that they're not, because again, they've dived into these substances that have changed their character. You put yourself in that position, and then you say, you know what, well, maybe this is me. Or maybe this is a part of me that I'm able to just forget about everything else, and this is what's important, because gosh, now I'm really living in the moment because I'm dancing in the club, or I'm meeting new faces, and the smells are great, the taste is great, the audio is great, the music's awesome, what I'm seeing is awesome, what I'm tasting is, wonderful, and I'm in this position where it's like I'm in control. But are you? Are you really in control at that moment, I forget the expression in Spanish, but I think it's like being vago or something like that, just like a vago or something like that, right? Where it's like, I think that's the expression, but it's kind of like you're just walking the streets with nothing to do. You're just looking for trouble in a sense. And you're just in this position where it's like, I'm waiting for life to hit me. And once it does, then I'll feel great. Then the adrenaline starts hitting me. Anyways, we get into, again, I'm just going off. That's episode 2. And then I skipped and I went all the way to episode 7, where I talk about symbols. And this philosophy comes from Fred Tarstino, I believe that's his name, Fred Tarstino. If you click on the playlist, go to episode 7. Maybe I guess I can do that. And I'm now looking at the camera. I don't know why. Just looking at myself, I guess. Well, not really looking at myself, kind of just looking at my screen. Um, but here we go, the triumph of the Lamb, and I say I got the study from Fred Tarsitano, and I put his YouTube channel, and we talk about the symbols of Jesus. We talk about the tomb, we talk about the cross, lamb, oil, we talk about the dove, we talk about being clothed in power, and lastly, we talk about the seal. So those are 7 symbols. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 symbols where we talk about Jesus, but the different symbols that represent him, not only within the Bible, but just in general. So if you're interested in that, I talk about religion, spirituality. I talk about after death, and I talk about the sense of being in eternity, right? What it's like, quite possibly, to be in heaven, as they say. I'm no expert, but this, again, what I'm doing is hopefully it keeps on recording, because I saw the screen, freeze a little bit. But well, I mean, this is different. I'm not in my car. I'm not recording on my phone. For what my phone is like, it's full of storage. So even if I want to record like a 20-minute video, it's going to cut me off at like 5 minutes. So I either need to delete some apps or free up some storage or upgrade my phone in general. But things are expensive, right? And my phone's been working just fine. So what I'm doing here is I got these headphones a few months ago. Actually, I'm going to say in January, because I got them around when the spring semester started, and they work wonders. They are amazing. They're noise canceling headphones, and I walk around the house and I can't hear, a water drop. It's beautiful. I listen to my books, I listen to my music. I don't. And you know what I've noticed as well, without talking too much about myself, is that I'm extremely sensitive to noise in general, and I get stomach aches, right? I get stomach aches when there are too many noises happening at the same time. And it's funny because I've been working at restaurants my whole, adult life. And I started when I was, around 18 or 19 as a dishwasher. And I kind of moved up, and now I'm a bartender at a restaurant. And I've been a server, I've been the busser, I've basically I've done a lot of what needs to be done to run a restaurant. I haven't been the manager anywhere, but I never really dove into that, kind of position, because, well, gosh, I'm going to school, and I want to do something else, and I don't want to get sidetracked and be like, okay, well, this is because being a manager at a restaurant is, one of what I see from working at restaurants is one of the more, could be stressful jobs. Sure, a lot of jobs are stressful, but rewarding and fun at the same time. Gosh, I kind of lost what I was saying. My stomach aches, I guess, and noise. And so because I work at restaurants, it's surprising that I'm able to work at restaurants, but I think that kind of noise I've kind of just become accustomed to. And I do catch myself, as just like anybody else, if you're trying to take somebody's order. And I work at a hibachi place, at a Japanese restaurant, so there's a lot of yelling, right? With the cooking, and people are having a great time. People are having a good time, with the food being thrown in their face, the sake in their face, and everything. And me being the bartender, I'm making noise myself too. And sometimes it gets really noisy, right? It gets too noisy to the point where I can't really hear the customer, saying their order. So I'm like yelling at them, going, "What? Like, what do you say? You speak up." But when I'm at home, right, or at the supermarket, there are certain times where there's more than one noise that I don't necessarily can tune out, in a sense. And I've noticed a lot of people can just handle noises. They can go about their day with just, noises. They're on the bus, or they're out, even at home, and it's like I sometimes I see my brother and he's like watching TV, and there's so much noise going on around the house, and I can't even sit down and read a book, because TV's going off, there's things in the kitchen, the laundry's going off, there's pets and animals. I hear the neighbors outside, and the fans going off, even things like the refrigeration, the humming, the noises. So it's like I'm very sensitive, and I hear everything, and it all just kind of just piles on top of each other. And once I bought these headphones, it was almost like I could breathe, right? I was able to kind of just like really take a deep breath, and the stomach aches went away, and it's amazing, right? So I don't know why. Oh, I'm talking about my headphones, something new, right? I'm using my computer to record this, and so I'm using my camera, and I said, well, some maybe I have some kind of microphone in here. And so I clicked a couple of buttons on my computer, and it said that I'm able to use my headphones as a microphone. And the audio is not too bad, I think, because when I record with my computer, the audio is kind of, spacey. It catches a lot of noise. I have the fan going off, so maybe you can hear the fan, or not the fan, but the AC going off. It's like um, an AC next to the next. It's like in the corner of the room, and that could be kind of distracting. So I don't know if you can hear that, but we'll see. This is the first time I'm recording. This is maybe the second time I'm recording video on my computer, because I made a guitar tutorial previous to this video that I've uploaded of Johnny Cash, Walk the Line. And gosh, I've been talking for 30 minutes and we still haven't gotten into the episode. But this is normal for me, okay? So, like I said, episode 7 is the 7 symbols that symbolize Jesus Christ. So I'm just kind of going through the playlist here, and next I do an update on my philosophy blog list, and then I do a short video where it's a 5-minute reality, living within your own 5 minutes of reality. And if we were talking about time, this is essentially what I'm saying. If you want to keep track of your time, if you want to keep track of what you're doing, every 5 minutes is brand new to you. Every second is brand new to you. So if you're not living too far into the future, or you're not reflecting too far back into your past, but what you're doing is living within the next 5 minutes. I mean, right now it's 11 o'clock, so the next 5 minutes would be 11:06. What are you doing within that time? Is it of value to you? And for me, right now, I think this is a value because not only is it teaching me, but hopefully I'm reaching out and teaching others as well. And so you can do this when you're doing extracurricular activities, playing video games, reading a book, doing things that you don't necessarily think are of value, drinking at a bar, things like that. Or what's another one, like, gosh, what do people do that just waste time? I guess going to the beach. I guess I don't know. What are things? I mean, if you're watching this video, leave a comment down and say, "This is what I do to kind of just waste time." For me, it's that's how I relax. Is going to the bar and drinking, or going to the movie theater and watching a movie. Or some people maybe spend too much time at the gym, right? Because there's nothing else to do. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I like to live a healthy lifestyle, but I don't want to be home and just watching TV. So I'm going to devote my time to being at the gym. Sometimes you spend too much time at the gym, right? But is that a bad thing? Some people would say no, right? I think you could spend too much time at a gym. Playing music, for me, there you go. Something that you enjoy doing to pass the time could be bad at a certain lengthy time, right? I could be playing my guitar for 4 hours, but do I really need to be playing my guitar for 4 hours, right? I guess it all comes down to the personality. It all comes down to what exactly you're trying to excel in. Another thing that I like to do is draw, right? So sometimes I can put myself in a position where it's been over 2, 3 hours, where I'm sitting down at my desk for too long, right? And I'm, drawing and drawing and drawing. But again, maybe I'm trying to excel at something, maybe I'm trying to improve, but in that activity is too much. What part in there is the line and say, okay, you're at the red mark now, right? Now you're at the dark red mark, right? You're at the purple mark, you're kind of at the black mark, overreached, right? When I was taking some art classes a few semesters ago, my class was 3 hours of art. And then he wanted us to do 3 more hours of art within that day. So that's 6 hours out of my day where I'm drawing and my hand would cramp up, right? My arm was tired after like the fourth or fifth hour. I would say, this is too much, professor. But again, that was kind of necessary for us to excel and to improve our skill. And I guess that's kind of what school is all about. It wasn't forever, it's not like I'm still doing that, but I could be doing that. But again, am I a professional artist? No. So why am I devoting or dedicating myself that much time out of my day when again I could be using that time to prioritize other things like around my house or the family? Anyways, so if we go, okay, so if we're talking philosophy here, we're going to get into this episode finally, right? This is episode 3. How to be successful is what we're going to be talking about. How to be successful. And specifically, we're going to be talking about 5 kinds of people that you want in your life to help you be successful. Now, a lot of people have of what success is and what success is for them, right? That could be in the financial realm, that could be in the relationship realm, that could be in the self-expression and mental health, realm. The how clear-minded you are, I guess. Some people, you know, God bless them, because people suffer with depression or bipolar disease, or they have certain aspects of the mind that prevent them, schizophrenia, certain aspects of the mind that prevent them from, I guess, not being who they are, because that is who they are, right? It comes down to just accepting your truth. I suffer from depression, so it's until you actually are aware of your depression that you can finally defeat your depression, because you are mano a mano with it. You know that that's not your entire being. That can be your entire being. You have been there, right? People who suffer with depression know the darkest moments of their life, and if you're able to get out of that, you kind of become stronger at the end. I think you're able to know what's coming next, and what are the things in my life that I can do to prevent myself from getting to that darkest point again. It's not easy. Nobody said life was easy, right? But it's not until I think you are aware of who you are, that's the perfect opportunity to be able to battle your depression. There are some aspects in life, or some types of consciousness or types of personalities, where you're unable to. It's inevitable. It kind of just takes over your body chemically, and so you are acting like somebody that you're not, and you kind of black out for a bit. I've heard stories of people with bipolar where they don't really want to believe, or they don't believe themselves that they were acting that way. You kind of need to get out of your body a bit and look at yourself from an eagle's eye perspective and say, what am I doing with my life? How am I treating people? How am I acting? What are the kinds of words that I'm using? What's my sense of vocabulary on a day-to-day basis within those 5 minutes, within those 30 minutes, if you like to look at it that way? From this time to this time, how are you treating people? And journal it, right? Write that down So that way you can reflect back on it and say, wow, is that really how I am? When you're a little bit more clear-headed, right? When you're in your quote-unquote good mood, right? As opposed to being in your bad mood. Was that really who I was? Was that really how I was treating people? Was I really that kind of person? Well, whose fault is that? Is that other people's fault or is that my fault? Did I let my emotions yet again take over? Yes. Are you honest with yourself? Are you accepting that truth? Are you aware of your being, your sense of nature? Are you just distracting yourself with pills or drugs or alcohol to kind of just escape from that sense of reality, right? Become sober and really understand who you are as a person. Really accept depression, but don't try not to let depression take over, right? And that's why I like to believe in God. That's why I like to believe in a higher faith, this hope, this sense of belonging to where it's like, I know this isn't it. I know this isn't how I am all the time, right? I know there's a quote-unquote better me, a me where I am good. And how can I attain that? How can I sustain that? How can I be that for most of my time here? What am I doing? Am I aware of it? Am I accepting the truth? Am I just, again, drowning myself in drugs and alcohol in a sense and saying, you know what, the hell with this. I like this state of being because this state of being I'm actually in control in. But are you in control again? Are you really in control at that state of being? Or are you just using substances to kind of ignore your actual truth? And this is actually where these types of people in your life will benefit you. If not you, your lifestyle, your choices that you make in this life, and the people that you interact with and the social network that you create in your adult life. So if you're watching this and you're like, if you're an adolescent or if you're in your early 20s and you're just still figuring out what life is all about, for me, it's who you associate with. It's what kind of community do you belong in? Do you belong in a community that actually services other people? Are you in a community where they're actually reaching out and helping other people? Or are you in a community where they just help themselves? What kind of friends do you have? These are the kinds of questions you should be asking yourself, if not in your adolescent age, but more importantly, in your pre-adult life stage, your 20s to your mid-20s. And if you don't get it by the time you're 30, it's just going to get even harder and harder to actually accept your truth and where you've put yourself and where you have landed in life and how deep you are in certain situations because of your choices, because of your faultiness or your inability to be aware of making those conscious decisions soberly. So be aware of the steps that you're taking. And this is why it's so important to be within those 30 minutes of your life, to be within those 5 minutes of your life, to not let time take advantage of you, to not let time just pass through you and say, you know what, I did spend those 6 hours at the bar. I did get super drunk. I did get into that fight or that brawl. I did get arrested. I did mess up my life because I was having too much fun, because I was having too much of a chaotic time, right? And I keep reflecting back to the bars because I work at a bar and I go to the bar, right, to drink. And I've been in situations where I've messed up, where I've seen people mess up. And not only that, I used to play music. And so, again, these types of, and I'm not saying the music scene is all bad, but it's not the best area to be making friends, right? And I'm just using that as an example because I have experience of being within the music scene. Whether that's the community that is here in my society and where I live, but even more so in a bigger city, quite possibly, where are you aware of the people that you're interacting with? And again, are they helping other people or are they just helping themselves? So again, These are 5 different types of people that will help you not get rich, but will make you rich, will make you successful. And again, a lot of people have a different understanding of what it is to be rich and what it means to be successful. And so we'll get into the study here. 92%, and this is a statistic that's coming again from Philosophies for Life. I don't necessarily know where they're getting it from, but I'll trust them on this. But it says that 92% of people don't achieve success, right? And so that leaves the other 8% reaching some kind of success, some kind of point in their life where they feel like they're maybe of value to other people, but more importantly, quite possibly to themselves, right? And so they can proclaim that they are successful, that they do feel success in their life, or they see success in their life. And so we get into this quote by Abraham Lincoln where he says, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So I'm pretty sure you can, decipher that on your own or understand that in your own sense, but it goes in par with what I was saying earlier, where you can read hundreds and hundreds of books, but if you're not actually putting into practice, what's the use of reading those books? What's the knowledge even doing any? Are you even messing up and creating some type of wisdom in your life to where you can say, you know what, I have been there? Because anybody can be smart, but not a lot of people can be wise. And so let's say Abraham, right? Let's say Lincoln decides to just go ham on the wood right there, willy-nilly, right? Just like, give me the axe, give me the wood, and I'm just gonna, more often than not, are you gonna mess up because the axe wasn't sharp enough, essentially. More specifically, right? Right? If we're talking literally. But metaphorically, we're speaking, he hasn't really put in the practice before he actually executes it. Right? In the music sense, you're not going to play a show unless you devoted some time to practice those songs, because you're just going to go on stage and just butcher it. Right? You're not going to turn in an assignment unless you've spent 4 hours studying. Right? You're not just going to try to get on your keyboard and just type it out right there and then when you get the assignment. So, are you accumulating some type of network or some type of resource or resources that will help you execute the mission or the target more accurately, in a sense, right? Are we devoting again that time in a positive way to where it enables success at the end of the day? So we need to start spending time, right? We need to start spending time with the right type of people if you're serious about being successful. And people who are successful don't fool around with people they shouldn't be fooling around with. And we can see that in the backstories of certain musicians or politicians or people in power. They don't waste their time with things they don't need to be doing, right? In either in autobiographies or in biographies in general, you read about these people and the people that they associate themselves with and the choices that they choose. And maybe they'll be singled out and say, oh, you know what, this person's not going to hang out with us again because, oh, maybe he's too, he thinks he's better than us or something. Well, be better than them, right? Choose to be different. Choose to be your own individual. Choose to not be a part of the sheep, right? And I'm not saying you don't want to be a part of the community, right? You don't want to be antisocial. You don't want to just refuse to be a part of the group. But there are certain aspects in your life, certain types or different forks in your life. Right, the saying that there's a fork in your path, and it's time to decide. Am I going to stay up all night studying and pass the test, or am I going to stay up all night partying and miss my shot at excelling? Right? And so we get these certain points in our life. Do I take that other drink? Do I associate with those types of people? Or do I just choose to call an Uber and call it a night? You know what? There's more beer at home, right? Let's just, call an Uber, get some Uber Eats, call it a night. I got work in the morning. Vocalize, use your words, say no, learn to say no, learn to stick up for yourself, and learn to be firm, and learn to piss people off. Learn to just make people, don't make them hate you, but just learn to respectfully diffuse, or refuse, I should say, their invitation to the next occasion, or the next bar, or the next party, or the next gathering, or oh, there's the after party, or we're gonna go do this, let's go hang out some more. It's like, no, you know what? It's midnight. I'm done. Cut it off. Don't put yourself in a position where that next hour can ruin your life for the next 10 to 15 years because of that little hour of time, right? So we're going down here, and we're trying to hit the mark, right? We're trying to hit the mark perfectly by using the resources we have at hand to have a successful life, right? So again, it's a certain type of approach to life. What are the resources around you? Are they beneficial to you? Are they benefiting you? What's your network lifestyle like? The types of people that you're hanging out with. What are the things that you're ingesting? What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? It even comes down to the types of music you listen to, I think. Because again, that affects your mood. That affects the way you approach life and the certain people you invite into your life. Do you have some type of hope or belief, right? Do you have some type of clinging onto, whether that be, in the Christianity aspect, God, or in the Buddhist aspect being Buddha, or in Hinduism, their gods, or in Judaism, or in Islam, right? Or I'm thinking, the other types of religions, I can't really think of them off the top of my head, but again, some type of, or in the agnostic form, quite possibly the astrological form of the stars, and mysticism and magic, and stones and energy, if we're talking material. What is it that you hold on to? It shouldn't be you, right? It shouldn't be yourself. You should not lean on your own understanding, right? You should not, because we don't get it. We don't get it. We can't lean on our own understanding and say, you know what, I know what's right for me. Maybe in some parts in your life, you know what's good for you. But there are times in your life where you're going to have to start asking, start pondering, and start questioning and saying, well, I'm going to have to start weighing out the options, the pros and cons here. What's more beneficial to me? What benefits me at the end of the day? Not only me, but how is this going to affect other people around me, right? Again, these types of people are going to help you. Number one being the mentor, right? The mentor, the teacher, the one that oversees your practice, the professor, the guidance counselor, like I said, the teacher, the parent, the guardian, the wise man at the park that you visit every so often, the one that knows you, how to approach life because they are wise, because they have experienced it. Number two is the mark, your target in a sense, your destination, your end goal, your result, your audience, right? Number three, so we have the mentor, and then we have your target, right? We have your what did I say? Your audience, and alongside the mentor would be the sidekick, and the sidekick not being as important as the mentor, but the sidekick having its own this could be your best friend, this could be your spouse, this could be a coworker, this could be a classmate, a colleague, this could be a friend, this could be a sibling, right? Somebody that you can go to in a sense. That's not your mentor. And that's not your target, that's not your audience. Number four, the connector who connects you to the audience. There's you, the connector, and then there's the audience. So there's a middleman, right? The one that gets the information from you, and takes it to the audience. The one who is grabbing the, what is it called, the baton or the torch, and essentially, you know, and like when you're running the track, essentially, and you're going from one person to the next person to the next person. And lastly, number five would be the mentee, which would be the one that comes after you. And at that point, hopefully you have become the mentor, so that way you can have underlings and you can then teach them what the mentor has taught you. And so now and so it kind of just snowballs after that. Well, not really snowballs, but it has like a domino effect, where it goes to the next, to the next, to the next. You have the mentor, the mark, the sidekick, the connector, and then lastly the mentee. Mentee again being the one that looks up to you. So the mentor, going into a little bit more detail here, and I don't want to push this video too long because we're almost at the hour mark here. And so the mentor is going to have the mentee asking them for advice, right? And the mentor would be somebody who has been there, you know, they've done that, right? They've experienced life, they have, you know, they have the wisdom now. Now he or she is someone that you can turn to and ask questions, and they're there to be able to listen in on your concerns and your questions, essentially. So if you want to build, you know, a business, you want to align yourself with people who have been there, who have done that, right? So if you want to build a certain type of business, you want to associate yourself with that type of network. You are the mentee. You don't know how it's like in there. You don't know what it's like in there. So you have to ask yourself, who am I going to be asking these questions to? Well, obviously I'm going to be asking the questions to the ones who have been there, who have done that, who have maybe graduated from there, who are running their own businesses. And you want to say, well, how do I get there? What do I need to do? Who do I need to associate with? Where do I need to place myself on this planet to do that? And start there. And if you can't find those people, ask people to direct you. And gosh, you guys, we have Google, right? You have the internet in your phone, right? You have these again, resources that if you don't spend all your time on TikTok, or if you don't spend all your time on these social media platforms, but you're actually devoting your time to researching how to benefit your life, you will become successful. You will become rich. That could be, again, rich in the financial aspect, That could be rich in the spiritual aspect. That could be rich in the physical, mental, health aspect. Um, your network aspect. So again, rich doesn't necessarily mean filthy rich, or I'm going to make millions and billions of dollars. It could mean that if you're lucky enough, but that's for another video. What is money? Why does money make people happy? Oh gosh, because it could, and here I am going to go off, because it could feed me, right? Because it'll give me nice things. It'll take me from A to B a lot faster. But that, again, that's in another video. So you want to build a relationship. You want to build a relationship with a mentor. You don't want to look at them as just somebody that you can go to and bug them, right? You actually really want to invest your time, and they should want to invest their own time to help you. So you need to find that relationship, and it's gonna take some time. It's like finding the right doctor, the right psychiatrist, right, or the right therapist. It's gonna take a couple of tries until you click, right? You don't click with everybody that you meet with. So obviously, it's gonna be the same thing with finding that mentor. You have to learn how to just juggle certain people, get their contact information, and be like, you know what, they're easy to talk to, but it's always good to keep some other people in the back burner because life and time can take them away. So you should just steadily be building relationships with a lot of people, not too many people to where you don't make any relationships, but enough people to where you do actually build a genuine friendship. You're trying to get to a friendship with them to where you don't always have to talk about business, because you can really learn a lot from somebody outside of their workplace, right? Outside of their work life, or their work energy, or their work personality, and be like, well, and you can learn a lot from them that way too. So we go into how it's going to be, if you approach it that way, it's going to be a lot easier than just going it about yourself. So humans aren't robots, obviously, right? It would be cool if we were, but at the same time, it wouldn't. There's this thing that I saw, and I didn't think that we were actually doing it, but we're uploading our consciousness into computers now. Kind of like what is it called? It's called like cryogenetics or something like that, where you freeze the body. I forget what it's called, but kind of like in Futurama, one of the first episodes. I think it is the first episode where he gets frozen, and he wakes up like 1,000 years later, or 100 years later, I should say. I don't know, 1,000 or 100. Anyways, where we're not. Well, I mean, we're doing that too. We're freezing the body, and we're seeing if we can unfreeze them, down the line in the future. But what we're doing now as well is I don't know if it's actually happening, or if it's still in the process of doing it, or figuring out how we're doing it. But we're uploading consciousness, our memory, um, ourselves essentially, into a computer. And I think I saw it on a Marvel episode, or a Marvel video, or a Marvel movie, where they were talking to somebody in the computer, and it was their consciousness. It was them. It was them talking to them. Like, he had died. The body is dead, but he was still alive in the computer. Because the computer was asleep, he was unable to be, he was unable to talk. But once they turn on the computer, once they turn on the energy source, and all the computers turned on, he was there. And that's crazy to even think about that. To even think like you could be, but then again, it kind of makes sense, because what is your body if not just your memory, if not just your consciousness? Because your mind is what controls your body, right? So essentially, without the body, your mind can still keep on going. But if you're dead, how is your consciousness still able to, or do you upload your consciousness before you die? And I haven't read too much about it, but I'm getting myself in a loop here. But do you lose your consciousness? Do you lose your memories? And you just upload them into the computer, kind of like a photo? It's like, okay, I'm going to delete this photo, or I'm going to airdrop this photo into this computer, and it's no longer in my phone. I'm just going to airdrop some memories into this computer, and no longer going to be in my brain anymore. That's messing with God's plan. That's messing with something that's out of your control. Okay, anyways, this is what happens when I read robots. So we're not robots, right? Humans aren't robots. We set goals and we fail at them, right? We get tired and stressed out. And so this is why having a mentor will help you turn the daily adversaries of life into successful habits, which build your internal resilience, which makes the adventure of life just a little bit more manageable. If you have these certain types of people in your life, they kind of prepare you in a sense. They put you in a position where you have an understanding that you will fail, but it's not going to be the end of it. And these are the types of things that you can do to help you possibly prevent from failing again, or to be able to just pick yourself back up. Excuse me. So where are you going to find these people, right? So in this day and age, it's harder and harder to associate yourself with people because we're just always on our phones or always in our technology. But there are places that you can meet up. This is kind of outdated where it says LinkedIn. I don't know if people still use LinkedIn. They probably do. But social networking events. I have friends who like to play video games and they go to these events throughout the year, Comic Cons or video game tournaments, and so they meet like-minded people like themselves, and so this is what we're talking about. Or conferences, I should say, or certain events that are held throughout the year, to where you can put yourself in a position where it's like, okay, these are my people. I don't know as much as they do. Gosh, what's that other word? It's not a conference, it's not an event, it's not a meetup. I forget what the word is, but essentially you're putting yourself, it's like a room full of people that are your people. That's where you want to associate. That's where you want to position yourself in life. And you want to be social, if not just for that hour. You don't have to be social all the time, but you do have to be social a little bit if you want to get ahead. You do have to get out of your box. You do have to learn how to speak to people. So going down is number 2, the mark. And a mark is a person you want to influence and hear yes from to be able to move forward. So we have the mentor, which is essentially above you, because they know more, right? And they're a little bit wiser. But the mark is your targeted audience, right? It's where you want to direct your knowledge to them, or your product to them, or your source of wealth to them, or something like that. Your position where it's like you want to hear a yes from them. You want to get some kind of feedback. If you get a no, sure, you'll get a no sometimes. We don't like this product. We won't buy this product. Try again. But essentially, we want to hear yes. In the music realm, you want people to buy your music. In the art realm, you want people to buy your art. In the marketing, product realm, you want people to be able to buy the shoe you just made, right? Or the TV you just made, or whatever it may be. And so we go down to who are you trying to find? Who are you trying to hear a yes from, right? In the sales realm, right? When you're selling things, your client or the investor, right? Or the co-founder or the employees, right? You're trying to gather some kind of unison of agreement. How can you execute it and make it clear and make it appealing to your mark? So these are the types of questions you want to be asking yourself. If you're not hitting the mark, what is it that you can be doing differently? Spending time with your mark is also good as investing in yourself to succeed. So you want to be able to hear them out and hear their feedback, right? You want to be able to hear what they have to say about what you're trying to sell them. And could you be doing it differently? So you want to know your mark. And in order to know your mark, you want to be an attentive listener. You want to be appreciative of them, patient and grateful, and be grateful to the ones who are working alongside you to make that mark say yes. So your team, who's on your team? Your coworkers, classmates, your employees. Are we working together as a team to get that yes? So be grateful that you have people who are alongside of you that will help you get to that mark. So then we go down to number 3, which is the sidekick. And the sidekick is pretty self-explanatory, right? Somebody who has as much faith in you and your ambitions as you do, right? And is willing to share your responsibilities. We all know, the famous sidekick of, Batman and Robin, right? Sure, sometimes they fight and disagree and bicker like a married couple, but they both have an understanding of what they want to accomplish at the end of the day. So again, your sidekick could be your spouse or your coworker, your employee, could be, I think I said employee, somebody who's your partner essentially, your accountability partner who has an understanding that they know you, right, off work as they do know you on work, right, when you're working and when you're not working. They possibly know you better than you know yourself, right? They know your limits. They know when it's time to take a break. And they trust and share the details of your business, right, to others who you find trust in, right? So they could possibly even be ones who take over your business when you're absent, right, for a lengthy part of time, they're able to take the wheel in a sense. Number 4, being the connector. Now the connector, again, like we said, we have the mentor, the sidekick. We went into the mark, right? Now we have the connector. Wait, so let me just review. We have the mentor, the mark, the sidekick, yes, and number 4, the connector. Is the connector is somebody who here it says you can give up when you realize you don't have direct access to the mark, right? So again, as a musician, you don't really have direct access to your audience, but you have somebody who's the middleman, which would be the record producer, right? Or the record label, the one that's distributing your music for you to the audience and you can't. I mean, you can speak to your fans directly at at meetups, but you're not necessarily talking to each and every single one of them. So essentially, it is the distributor, the one who's taking what you want to sell and giving it to the audience themselves, which is the mark. So you want to get a yes from them, obviously. So how are you going to do that? And again, you want to build a good relationship with the connector so then they can distribute your things in a timely manner and could work alongside you in a professional way. So that's essentially that's all it is with the connector. The connector could also be people who always know someone, right? They always should they're more outgoing than you, and this isn't talking in the more distributing marketing sense, but this is a more in a local sense, meaning you're an individual in this certain scene or this certain community, and you have troubles networking in a sense. So you want to find somebody who can network just a little bit better than you. So then you are friends with that person who knows a lot of people. And so they can direct you to all these other types of different colors of, backgrounds and diversity and different types of people and say, oh, okay, well, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have met all of you, right? So sometimes the connector in the more astrological sense would be kind of like an Aries or Sagittarius or Leo, people who walk around with confidence. They kind of just jump around from person to person and everybody knows them and everybody likes them. And so I am a Cancer. I'm kind of reserved. I'm not shy, but I am less talkative than most people when I'm out in public. Um, but I am able to be social and talkative when situations arise, you know. So, but it's always a benefit to me when I know someone who knows a lot of people because then I can associate myself with all types of different people, no problem. But it would be more difficult for me to go out there pure nakedly in a sense and really raw, right? And just go out there and try to meet new people. That's really difficult for me to do. But it's not impossible. So they just know a lot of people. They know a lot of people in the family aspect, in the friendship aspect, in the coworker work life aspect, and so they just are friendly with a lot of people. And so lastly, the mentee um, would be your position once you have basically graduated in a sense, right? You have been now you have been there, now you have done that, and now it's time for you to teach it, right? So it's time for you to inspire others, right? So the mentee could be your own children, right? The mentee could be employees, coworkers, again, colleagues, it could be friends, it could be people of that nature, right? Um, and mentees are people who want to connect with you for your own experience. Okay, so um, this essentially is going to help you develop leadership skills at the end of the day. Because now you've kind of just gone through it all, right? You're able to look up at a mentor. You're able to know your target audience. You're able to have that sidekick alongside you. You're able to know the connector who could connect the audience. And you're able to become the mentor to where you have the mentee to be able to guide them now to where you want them to be and where they want themselves to be. So I hope this helps you guys understand the importance of not going and taking on life, but realizing that it's much more, at the end of the day, much more beneficial to you to have people like this, like people like these people in your life to help you excel in certain aspects in life. And life is going to take you in all sorts of directions. Again, if you try to tackle life by yourself, it's going to be extremely hard. That's why it's essential for the man to marry, and to find themselves in marriage, and to find themselves at least in a partnership, if not marriage, but a partnership to where they can battle life together and be in one unity, right? Being together in partnership, and to be able to challenge each other and to uplift each other and to inspire each other. So hopefully you stay till the end. Um, but again, this is ZYUH. This is Philosophies for Life. Again, this is not my philosophy. This is man's philosophy, man's understanding of what it is to be able to succeed in life. And this is coming from Philosophies for Life, a neighboring YouTube channel, which again I'll put on in the description, the box below, and give them credit as I always do. And hopefully you guys have, again, a better understanding on how it is to approach life, that it's not really advisable to go it alone, but to have, if not one of these people in your life, whether that being the mentor, the sidekick, the connector, or knowing your target audience. If you at least know one of these, if hopefully you know at least three, try getting the other two. But if you have two, try to get the other three. What I'm saying is that you want to start building those relationships, start building those friendships. And if you don't have any of these people in your life, that's okay too, because everybody has to start somewhere. And again, it's that awareness of understanding your personality, understanding your truth, understanding your position in life, and knowing that, okay, well, now I know where I am, now I know where I stand, now I know where I can go. As opposed to just being, well, gosh, I just don't know who I am, I don't know where to go, I don't know how to approach things, and you're just kind of floating and being in the abyss. Ground yourself. Look around yourself. Really understand your position in life. Realize the potential you have inside of you. Realize the opportunities that are given to you on a daily basis. If you're able to get out of bed with 2 feet and you're breathing just fine, and if you can see, hear, and smell, right, and taste and touch, you got it better than a lot of other people in this world. And so these are types of things of realization that'll help you ground yourself and say, you know what? Gosh darn it, I do have it better than most people. And why aren't I acting that way? Why am I acting aloof? Why am I acting like I have 100 days ahead of me? Why am I acting like I'm invincible, right? I'm not a child anymore, right? I'm an adult. I need to start acting like it, and I need to start putting myself in a position where it's not only my time that I'm using, but it's other people's time that I'm using too. And am I wasting it, or am I using it not to my advantage, but to the point where it again puts me in a position where it leads me to success? So I'll end it there. Thank you for joining in. This is ZYUH. This is Philosophies for Life. I will be putting up a new video, hopefully a video a week, now that I'm out of school. And now that I've discovered that I can record it in my room, as opposed to recording it in the car. Some of you may have read or seen my videos that I put up, my original videos. Some of the videos, obviously, they're up still. I'm recording in my car. It gets hot in there. And not only that, my phone, fills up with storage, so my iMac can handle a whole lot more. So hopefully you guys continue joining in on these conversations. And if you reached all the way here, congratulations. But if you just got to the min mark, that's fine too. But leave a comment down below and tell me who it is in your life that you are that you are looking up to, or who is it in your life that you consider a sidekick, or what is your target audience? What is your business plan? Are you developing a business plan? Are you in school? Are you making friends? Are you being social? Are you building a community? Um, or do you not have any of these people in your life? And why is that? So build a discussion down there, and I want to see people commenting if they can, and so that way we can start building a community here, possibly, and we can continue this discussion and these videos, and if not, for yourself, but to help, again, your neighbor, right? So be kind, be respectful, and go out there and be of service to people, and be of help, and read your books, and what else? Have a belief in something, you guys. Have some kind of hope and faith. Look up into the stars at night, right? Don't just be playing your video games. Spend some time outside, go camping. Okay, see you in the next video.